Welcome back to Vanity and Violence, True Crime in Virginia. I'm your host, Cece. Tonight's episode is called Pretty Lies in a Small Town. Now, I'm going to be doing my makeup as we talk about the case, but I'm not going to show you what products I'm using, but I will provide a link at the end for anyone who's interested in what I'm using. However, I will let you know that I just recently got the new Fenty Beauty Blur and Smooth stick, and I'm gonna try it out tonight. I don't know how it's gonna look because I haven't tried it yet, but we'll try it. So there's that. Before we begin, I just want to let you know this episode includes the disappearance and murder of a teenager, betrayal of her friends, and themes of grief and trauma. I will not describe graphic violence, great detail, but the subject matter is heavy. In this space, Skylar is not a plot twist. She's a person who's loved, missed, and worthy of dignity. My goal is to tell you what is publicly known with care, not sensationalism. If you need to skip this one, I completely understand. And if listening to this brings up anything painful for you, please take care of yourself first. Pause, breathe, step away, because you matter too. And if you or someone you love needs immediate support in the U.S., you can call or text 988 for the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. So as I'm doing my makeup, I will be looking at my computer and trying to do my makeup at the same time. I apologize. In small towns, we tell ourselves a lie that feels like safety. We think nothing truly terrible could happen here because we recognize the streets, because we know the families, because the faces are familiar. And when something goes wrong, we don't want to believe it's real. So we explain it away. She probably ran off. She'll be back. Teenagers do this sometimes. Skylar Neese didn't disappear because she trusted a stranger. She disappeared because she trusted her friends. And that detail, that one detail, still makes my stomach drop every time I say her name, because it changes the shape of fear. It makes you question the safe people, the normal people, the people who are standing right next to you, pretending to help. This is Pretty Lies in a Small Town. Hey friends, welcome back to Vanity and Violence, True Crime in Virginia, where we talk about the cases that sit at the intersection of image and harm, and how sometimes the prettiest stories hide the ugliest truths. Grab your coffee or your concealer. Today is Season 1, Episode 5, Pretty Lies in a Small Town, and we're talking about Skylar Neese. And I need you to know up front, this one hurts. Not because it's the most complicated case, Not because it's the most mysterious case. It hurts because it makes you look at your own friendships differently. Sorry, guys. Had to work on the eyes a little bit. Back in 2012, they just kind of did a little bit of eyeliner and some mascara. Where were we? Before we get into timelines, I want to sit with who Skylar was. Skylar Neese was 16 years old, and she was someone's whole world. She was someone's baby, someone's reason to get up in the morning. She was Dave and Mary's only child. And from what's been publicly reported, she did well in school. She had a 4.0 GPA. She had a part-time job. She had a very bubbly personality. And she had plans, real plans for her future. That matters to me. I think it probably matters to you too. Because it's easy, especially in true crime, to let the ending swallow the person. But Skylar was a person before the headlines. She was a daughter, a friend, a teenager with a whole messy, hopeful life. And she deserved the chance to outgrow the hard parts. This is one of those cases where the vanity part isn't makeup or clothes. It's the performance. Hey guys, I'm kind of loving this stuff. Mm-hmm. This is the Fenty Beauty. And this is the finished look. The way people can look normal while hiding something rotten. The way a smile can hide camouflage. The way social media can become a stage where everyone plays a role. And I'm going to be honest here. Every time I cover a case like this, I feel that internal tug. The part of me that wants to believe I would have noticed, that I would have seen the red flags, that I could have protected her. But cases like this don't happen because everyone is careless. They happen because people trust, because people assume love equals safety. Sometimes it just doesn't. Skylar had a best friend since she was 8 years old. Her name was Sheila Ray Eddy. Skylar's dad, Dave, described Sheila as, quote, just like one of our kids. They did everything together, just like best friends do. In September 2010, Sheila met a young girl by the name of Rachel Schoaf, and I hope I'm pronouncing her name correctly. They were in their sophomore year in high school. Sheila, Rachel, and Skylar became fast friends. These girls were inseparable. They were very sociable. They took selfies together, sleepovers. doing, everything that teenage girls do. And, they were all very pretty girls. But as teenage girls tend to do, they began to argue. Maybe a little more than normal. I don't think that in 2012, teenage girls were as mature as they are today. Now, I may be wrong in my thinking about that. It's been a while since I've had a teenager in high school. But I do know that bullying is probably way worse than it was in 2012. But that's a subject for another time, my friends. So Skylar had worked her shift at her part-time job, as usual, on July 5th. Let me just double check that. On July 5th, 2012. And she went home as usual. However, the next day, her dad had noticed that she had not slept at home. But it was evident from her window that she had gone out the window. There was a bench in front of the window and it was open. Now, let's just backtrack just for a moment. Prior to that night, there was a lot of animosity between the girls. And Skylar had made a couple tweets on Twitter. She had tweeted, quote, "Sick of being at fucking home. Thanks, friends. Love hanging out with you too." End quote. And it really doesn't take much to piss me off. These tweets were on July 4th, 2012. On July 5th, she tweeted, quote, "You doing shit like that is why I never completely trust you." End quote. So, clearly there was a lot of animosity between the girls. Well, at least between Skylar and the other two. It was never, not in my research that I could find, there was never any animosity amongst all three of them. But then Skylar disappeared from her home in Star City, West Virginia on July 6, 2012, around midnight. Just saying that feels kind of unreal, because midnight is when parents think that their kids are home and they're safe. At midnight, they're supposed to be home in bed. She was reported missing, and in the beginning, like many cases involving teenagers, there was that awful assumption. Maybe she ran away. Maybe she's fine. Maybe she'll come back. So an Amber Alert was put out for her. Initially, Sheila told Mary, Skylar's mom, that the three of them had been riding around town getting high, smoking marijuana. She said she dropped Skylar off at the end of the road near where they live so that she could sneak in without getting caught. Sheila was posting on Twitter daily things about Skylar missing, and about her friendship with Rachel as well. But Skylar's family felt that something was off and something just wasn't right. And law enforcement felt that something was off as well. They felt something cold and instinctive. Again, no graphic details here, but not too graphic, but the emotional reality is really heavy. So if you need to step away, I understand. This is where the story turns. Skylar wasn't last seen with a stranger. She was last seen with her friends, people she knew, people she trusted, people who could show up, look adults in the eye, and say the right, comforting words. I want you to sit with that. Not to scare yourself, but to understand the kind of betrayal this was. Because it's one thing to fear the unknown, it's another thing to realize the danger can be so familiar. During the investigation, there were social media posts, messages, public worry, the appearance of concern. And that's the part of what makes the story so sickening. The contrast between what was performed in public with Sheila and what was true in private. I keep thinking about how exhausting that must have been for Skylar's parents, watching everyone, quote, help, just trying to keep hope alive, and not knowing the truth was close enough to touch. Law enforcement realized the two friends were lying. Say, quote, friends. Their stories didn't match up. There was video footage of them picking Skylar up that night. There were cell phone records. And after literal months of questioning, Rachel broke. She almost had a nervous breakdown. She confessed to the murder of Skylar. On January 3rd, 2013, she confessed that her and Sheila stabbed Skylar to death. She also confessed how they had planned her murder. They stabbed her over 50 times. Skylar's body was found across the state line in Pennsylvania. And I can't pretend to know what that moment felt like for her family. Because how do you measure that kind of heartbreak? That sentence, murdered by her best friends, that never gets easier to say. Like how did they tell her mom and dad this kid that they literally felt like was their own killed their daughter? Excuse me. Rachel pled guilty to second-degree murder on May 1st, 2013. She took a plea agreement. She received 30 years with eligibility for parole after 10, and expressed her remorse to the family. Sheila would not plead guilty. However, she received life with eligibility for parole after 15 years. Rachel has been up for parole twice. In her second parole hearing, she gave the motive for killing Skylar. She stated that they did not like her and that her and Sheila were having a secret romance, and Skylar knew about it, and they were afraid that she would tell everyone about it, so they had to murder her. Rachel goes up for parole again this year in 2026. And Sheila goes up again. Or, I'm sorry, not again. Sheila goes up in, I believe, 2028. Let me just double check that. Sheila can go up for parole in 2028, assuming she has good behavior. They are both incarcerated at the same place in Lakin Correctional Center in West Virginia. But for Skylar's parents, there's no clean ending. There's just life divided before and after. There's a publicly reported quote that sticks with investigators. When asked why Skylar was killed, the answer was basically, we just didn't like her. I don't even know what to do with that. Because it's not just cruel, it's empty. It turns a human life into something disposable. And that is the part that makes me feel furious. It makes me sick. These were teenagers. Skylar wasn't disposable. She wasn't an inconvenience. She was a person. In small towns, grief spreads differently. It doesn't stay private. It seeps into the school hallways and grocery store aisles. And I imagine, again, I can only imagine. I can't know, and I hope to never know what it must have felt like for her family to wake up every day in the same place where everyone knew her name and still not have her. A town full of familiar faces and one empty seat at the table that never stops being empty. Skylar's disappearance also led to changes in West Virginia's legislation involving missing child alerts. An attempt to make sure other families are taken seriously faster. There's now Skylar's Law. It's aimed at improving faster response time in missing children. I'm happy for that. But I also hate that it takes a tragedy to make anything happen. A law can shift procedure, but it can't return a child to their parent. This is the part where I come back to vanity and violence. Because if there is a lesson here, and I say that word carefully, it's that appearance is not proof. Someone can look like your friend and still be unsafe. Someone can post the right words and still be lying. And I don't say that to make you paranoid. I say it to remind you that instinct matters. A parent's fear matters. A friend's discomfort matters. If something feels off, it deserves attention, even if everything looks fine. I want to end by reminding you her name again. Skylar Neese. She was 16. She was loved, and she deserved to grow up. If you're listening and you're a parent, hug your kids a little tighter. If you're listening and you're a friend, be gentle with the people who trust you. And if you're listening and you've ever been betrayed, I'm so sorry. You didn't deserve that. This has been Pretty Lies in a Small Town. Thank you for listening to Vanity and Violence, True Crime in Virginia. Take a breath, drink some water, stay beautiful, stay aware, and I'll see you next time. Don't forget, hit like and subscribe.